This show is supported by Odoo. When you buy business software from lots of vendors, the costs add up and it gets complicated and confusing. Odoo solves this. It's a single company that sells a suite of enterprise apps that handles everything from accounting to inventory to sales. Odoo is all connected on a single platform in a simple and affordable way. You can save money without missing out on the features you need. Check out Odoo at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for the podcaster who's sitting in a new chair. Well, the chair's not new, but it's new to the studio, a.k.a. the climb-in closet. I record under the stairs in my apartment. And this chair is upgraded. It's also way bigger than the chair I had before, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm looking forward to it, but it's time. If you're wondering, why is this person talking about the chair? That sounds so pointless and boring. Talking about the chair you're sitting. I say, well, welcome to Sleep With Me, the podcast that's here to put you to sleep. We do it as a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. And what I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, to take your mind off of stuff, to keep you company so that you could fall asleep, because you deserve a good night's sleep. That's why I make the show. And because I've been there in the deep, dark night, tossing, turning, mind racing. So I want to help if I can. So I'm so glad you're here. The show is very different, though. It does take a few tries to get used to. So kind of see how it goes. I mean, that's only what a lot of listeners, regular listeners said. Hey, it took 2 or 3 tries for me to get used to the show. But I'm here to help. We'll have coming up is support. That's how the show's free. Then a long, meandering intro. You don't want to miss out on that. And then we're going to be talking. This is a crossover episode with the podcast I Know Dino. So if you love dinosaurs, if you've ever wondered about birds or dinosaurs, or if you've ever wanted to fall asleep, like, you know, Bette Midler does not call the podcast, but if she ever wanted me to go on a tangent about On Eagle's Wings, is that not a Bette Midler song? Some part of my brain said, that's not a Bette Midler song. Oh boy, that's a church song, isn't it? Oh boy, my brain, but you know, Bette Midler is a deity to me. She's a goddess, and that's, if you're confused now, welcome. It's because this is a confused person talking. It's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. And these sponsors are how we're able to do it for free twice a week. All right, everybody, this is Scoots here, and this is a crossover episode based on the podcast I Know Dino, episode 390. 390 episodes is incredibly impressive for a podcast. I mean, that's like it's a lot different than Sleep With Me. It involves a lot of research, a lot of work, and supporting things through day jobs and stuff. 390 episodes. So please check out I Know Dino. Use the link in our show notes, or just open your podcast app of choice and search for I Know. That's I, the letter I, is an I, like Gavin and Sabrina, or their guest saying, I Know Dino. And also another example of a great title. We always love rhymes here. And this episode was called, How Did Dinosaurs Become Birds? So let's get into it. What is required for flight? Like, what would it take as an example for humans to fly? And not just gliding. Like, gliding has evolved in over 30 times in invertebrates, including flying fish, which launch out of the water and glide with extended fins. And we as humans are able to glide with a wingsuit, but they require parachutes at the end of the flight. Fly like a bird. I want to fly away. I've said that, but I've never thought about, I've just thought about flying away. Mostly at social gatherings, interpersonal things. Anytime I'm around someone else, I say, fly like a bird. I want to fly away. Okay, but to achieve powered flight, you need 4 things. 1, you got to have those wings, whether it's on eagle's wings or having wings to have wind beneath them. and they've got to be large enough to generate the required lift. You also have, and there's a lot of superheroes, there's superheroes that use devices to fly, and some that fly by power. Okay, so you also need strong muscles to flap the wings and generate necessary thrust. Also, it's interesting because this might not come out at the same time as the episode of The Mandalorian, but it's just on my mind that so far that being on The Mandalorian probably achieved 1 and 2, a rigid, streamlined body. My memory of The Mandalorian is not, what about a rigid, non-streamlined way of life? Because that number 3, I've got partially. If you take out the streamlined body part, I have a rigid viewpoints. And then you also need a lot of energy for flapping the wings. Let's get into the math on this. There's a maximum wing load in nature. It's approximately 25 kilograms /M2. That's 25 kilograms per square meter, or 5.2 pounds per square foot. Wing load is the weight of the animal divided by its wing area. And if an animal has 2 wings with 1 square foot each, the absolute maximum weight is about 10 pounds. Most birds have lower wing load. That's a proportionally larger wings than the minimum wing size. So you got, extra wings. Theoretically, for a human with a mass of approximately 140 pounds, that's the average mass. We'd need a bare minimum of 28 square foot of wings and much longer arms. Now, a more typical wing load for a human would require wings about the size of a hang glider. That's a wingspan of 8 meters, 26 feet in an area of over 100 square feet or 9 square meters. So that's a king-size bed sheet on each arm. And 2, we'd need the muscles to flap those wings. Now, this is interesting in detail because flapping isn't about creating lift. Flapping is usually about generating thrust. Most of the lift is created by movement of the wing through the air, similar to an airplane or a glider. So birds don't necessarily have to flap to stay in the air. Birds can face into the wind and barely move their wings. They don't need to flap if the wind providing the relative wind speed to generate lift. And there's an exception. Birds that can hover create 100% of the required lift by flapping their wings, like hummingbirds. And that's why hummingbirds can fly backwards and upside down. The math for this exact thrust required for flight with fixable flapping wings is highly variable. So that's unlike the lift equation for fixed wings. Birds often create vortices, like little tornadoes, to create extra lift. What we could also do is create a comparison of relative muscle size, assuming our muscles could achieve the same power as bird muscles. That's an assumption. The bird's pectoral muscles are about 1/10 to 1/5 their body mass, while humans were about 40 to 50% skeletal muscles, and our muscles are by far, our largest muscles are attached to our hips and thighs. Being charitable, including the pectoris major and the deltoid, our major flapping muscles are about 2% of our body weight. So we're about 8% too low, I think. That's 1.5 kilograms, 3 pounds. Studies have shown, these are all approximations, these studies have shown that birds need to use most of their muscle capacity to fly, so there isn't a lot of wiggle room in that 10 to 20% calculation. In addition, we have smaller muscle attachments on our arms and especially on our chest since we don't have a big keel on our sternum. Let's get to that rigid, streamlined body. Like I got a rigid, non-streamlined mind. That body will support flapping without weighing too much. Now, we do have a lot of flexibility in our torso. That's going to make flapping difficult. Birds' bones are fused, giving them a rigid torso to push against while flapping. And rigidity is also important wherever the skin of the wing attaches to the body. Any flexibility that's going to lead to wing fluttering, like a sail flapping in the breeze, that's not generating thrust or lift. Streamlined bodies are also going to reduce drag. We have focused on lift versus weight so far. Flying animals also have to balance thrust versus drag. Just like aquatic animals, flying animals need to be streamlined to reduce drag. And they do that with a pointy head and a smooth body. I don't know does anybody remember Slim Goodbody? I don't think that just popped in my head. Human bodies have decent streamlining if we could go head first through the air. Unfortunately for flying, our center of gravity is near our hips. So if our lift was generated at our shoulders, our legs would stay beneath us and not behind us. I'm wondering, I love looking ahead, like, is this going to lead to, should we have wings on our hips? Can you imagine, who was that had wings on their shoes? Was that Apollo? But anyway, we'd end up flying through the air at a really awkward angle with our body creating a lot of drag behind us. Hummingbirds use a more upright flight position, but they hover, which is difficult in other ways. Also, we don't have a tail, which is not necessarily a requirement. There are BATSs that have no tail, but tails do help a lot with aerodynamic stability and steering. We'd also need another source of lift so that disturbances in the air won't send us spinning. And it can also be difficult having wings without a tail when it's still. A bird with one source of lift, wing and no tail, is similar to us standing on one leg. It's possible, but not easy, especially in a strong breeze. Okay, then we get to the energy part. A lot of energy for flapping wings. Flying is an extreme aerobic exercise. As the only other flying mammals, our cave buddies, B to the A to the T to the S, is our best analog for energy use. The ones that consume fruit, they have heart rates exceeding 1,000 beats per minute while flying. And we can't, obviously we can't do that. They also metabolize food very fast, 8 minutes after eating the fruit they land on. And sometimes their strategy is fly to food, quickly eat the food to make up for the calories they just used. They use about 75 watts per kilogram, or watts over kilogram to fly. For our average 80 kg person, that works out to 6 kilowatts, maybe. Now that's 8 horsepower, just for fun facts. To maintain 6 watts, we'd have to metabolize 5,000 calories an hour, which humans can't do. Swimming the butterfly or sprinting are two of the most calorie-intensive things humans do, and they cap out at 800 to 900 calories an hour. We don't have good enough metabolism and maybe not lungs to go an hour straight at that rate. So both with the heart rate and calorie consumption, we can only get to a fifth of what flying animals achieve. So in order to fly, we'd have to be much lighter, proportionally bigger arms, switch out our largest muscles from our legs to our arms, develop some new skeletal structures, a faster metabolism. And it's pretty impressive that flight has even evolved 3 times in vertebrates. Pterosaurs, birds, and bats. Sorry, for anybody that knows how to pronounce dinosaur names. There is a human-sized bird from the paleontological record that shows what a human-sized bird might look like. And that's called the Argentavis. Argent like Argentina and Avis like the rental car. Argentavis lived in the late Miocene era. I guess some pronunciations here. Thanks, I Know Dino. That was 6 to 9 million years ago in Argentina. Estimates put its weight at 70 to 72 kilograms. It's 154 to 159 pounds. It's the heaviest known flying bird. While standing on the ground, it would have been 1.5 to 1.8 meters tall. That's 5 to 6 feet tall. And it's a terrestrial bird, not a seabird, usually recreated like a giant Andean condor. Argentavis had an estimated wingspan of 5.1 to 6.5 meters. That's 16 feet 8 inches to 21 feet 4 inches. And while in flight, it would be 2.7 to 3.5 meters. That's approximately 9 to 11.5 feet long. The tail feathers behind it and its neck stretched out in front made it much longer horizontally in flight than it is tall while on the ground. Argentavis has a wing area of 8.1 meters squared. It's 87 square feet, square meters, meters squared. And even with all that, a study by Chatterjee and others from 2007 found that Argentavis was too big for some things. Probably couldn't sustain flapping flight for very long. It probably couldn't have taken off from just standing. It would have had to be run downhill or go off of edge to generate lift. It's only been found in Argentina, and maybe that's because the Andes have lots of opportunities for thermals, updrafts, and places to, run downhill and stuff like that, reducing the need to flap wings. Models show that it was a good glider, only falling about 3 degrees while traveling 67 kilometers per hour. That's 42 miles per hour. Now, differences between us and Argentavis point to all the key details dinosaurs had to evolve to achieve powered flight. So let's get into it. They needed to grow their arms into much larger wings to create a lot of lift. For powered flight, they needed huge chest muscles and large muscle attachment sites for flapping muscles. And a 2011 study by Andrew Bewiner showed the anatomy and size of the bird's two main chest muscles. The pectoralis, which beats down and accounts for 10 to 20% of the bird's weight. That attaches to the sternum on the upper arm, the deltopectoral crest. The other muscle is the supracora ossidius, which lifts the arm and only accounts for 2% of the bird's weight. Like the pectoralis, it attaches to the sternum but runs over the shoulder like a pulley and attaches to the back of the arm. The supracora coideus, maybe that's the correct one, achieves the same effect as our deltoid, but more efficiently. Now, Argentavis and dinosaurs in general have a head start on us in at least two ways. Now, theropods, they have relatively light bodies, thanks to a partially hollow bones and air sacs. And they can get more oxygen into their bodies for faster respiration, thanks to their fancy unidirectional lungs, which supply fresh air even when they're exhaling. Plus two features that work well together. They have feathers instead of hair, which can help with lift, and a tail, which gives a place for those feathers to attach. This creates an excellent lightweight stabilizer and a second source of lift besides the arms. Now, here's the thing. Feathers aren't necessary, but they can help. Of the 3 times flight has evolved, only one had flight feathers the way birds do today. Pterosaurs might have simple feathers, not too much different than our cave-based being hair. Now, feathers are only really beneficial for flight if they can maintain a shape that is useful for creating lift. Imagine what you'd want to stick to your own arm to create lift. Start to imagine yourself as a feathered friend. or, non-feathered friends, something that's firmly attached, okay, and check if you, in your imagination. Lightweight, check. How many people have styrofoam peanuts? I don't think those are going to help, that we've glued. How many people are doing that? Don't do it. It did it for us, because I didn't read the whole thing. But what I did, the first one, something firmly attached, lightweight, that maintains its shape when pushed by air. So I did glue, imaginarily, by the way, only styrofoam peanuts to myself, which I don't even think are a thing because they weren't good for the world. But you used to get, like, everything you'd buy, like, they'd ship in styrofoam peanuts. So you could Google it and see what they look like. They didn't look like, I guess they more looked like circus peanuts, which don't look like peanuts either. They weren't the same color. Usually they were green or like a pale color. But let's get back into it because you got to read more. Before you cover yourself in styrofoam peanuts, even with your imagination, keep reading first. Flight feathers are defined by a central strong rachis. That's pronounced rachis. That runs the length of the feather and attaches it to the hand or arm bone. The rachis attaches the feather to the arm bone. And yeah, they go right in. That's how they attach. Off that central rachis, there are lots of branching structures that are locked together with little hooks. Now we're really getting into this info here. And the feathers are made completely out of thin and hollow pieces of keratin for lightweight. And, remember, not all flight feathers need to be asymmetric, though it helps in many cases. Imagine the rachis in the middle of a feather with air blowing on one side. The side with the air blowing on it will deform. Now you got to shorten the branches so they're closer to the rachis so they don't change shape as much. Birds have the shortened branches pointed forward so they get less distorted while flying through the air. Now the earliest dinosaur we found with asymmetric flight feathers is Argentavis. Argentavis. It means ancient wing, but it can also be translated as ancient feather. In German, it's called Ufogel or Ufogel, which means first bird. The fossils we found are from the Jurassic period, approximately 150 million years ago, mostly in Germany. But it's still debated where Argentavis fits in bird evolution. The consensus seems to be that it's not the ancestor of modern birds. Holy evolution, right? One hypothesis is that Argentavis might even be developing flightlessness like steamer ducks. Now, dinosaurs had feathers for millions of years before they were useful for flight. If the common ancestor of dinosaurs and plesiosaurs had feathers, it would mean feathers evolved approximately 100 years before Argentavis. Now, feathers are very useful structures. Feathers are great display structures. They can be used for many things. Attracting mates like a peacock. I don't know, do turkeys use feathers for that? Believe it or not, like I live in a city, but we have like a lot of wild turkeys. A lot of people call me a turkey though too. But feathers are useful structures because they're great display structures. Oh, I already read that part. Attracting mates. They could also be used like an ostrich puffing up their feathers to say, hey, this is my space. Please back away. I enjoy, you can look at me from afar, but I'm not a peacock. I'm an ostrich. So Do not enter my zone of pecking. Now, ostriches cannot fly, and peacocks can only barely fly, but they definitely still need their feathers. Feathers are amazing for keeping warm and cool, like penguins use them to keep warm. And they also help with waterproofing. And they also help keep cool. There's like a red kangaroo, an emu, and also an emu. Red kangaroo versus emu. So there's a study showing that emu, EMU, can stay active in Australia, while kangaroos have to stay in the shade. And that's because the feathered wings kind of create a parasol to keep your body cool. And they can also adjust their wings to change airflow around their bodies, which something can't easily be, we can't do that with our hair that I know about. Also, similar to thick fur, they help with UV rays. And, there's not just one kind of feather. I think we already talked about that, but let's cover it again. Birds have different type of feathers and different layers depending on their environment. Sometimes a single feather serves multiple purposes. That sounds like a line in a Bette Midler song. Sometimes a single feather serves multiple purposes. I mean, if she would rewrite it in a more poetic way. But that's poetic on its own. Some feathers are flight feathers on the end and serve other functions near the base where they are overlapped by other feathers. There are a lot of reasons dinosaurs may have first evolved more complex feathers before being able to fly. Earlier feathered dinosaurs have been shown more recently, including Anchiornis, that one they spelled out for me though. Anchiornis. That was approximately 10 million years older than Archaeopteryx. Anchiornis is about approximately 160 million years old. Holy cow, is that amazing? It seems to have symmetrical features on its arms, which wouldn't have been as good for flying as the asymmetric feathers found on later birds. Anchiornis also has unusual feathers on its legs that seem more like display structures than flight feathers. And two possible paths for the evolution of flight are the ground up or tree down methods. Ground up, remember, you need to generate lift. To generate lift, you need airflow over your wings. And flapping is one way to get that initial airflow. Another option is by running with arms outstretched. That's how airplanes take off. Then Franz Nopsha described dinosaurs running quickly with their arms used for stability. And then over time, the arms may have been supplemented with feathers, eventually creating enough lift for flight. And he kind of basically assumed that they ran into a glide first, and then evolved the muscles for powered flight. Another is pouncing, like a kitty cat, that jumps on a laser pointer. Maybe small wings for dinosaurs, like a raptor buddy, could have made their jumps bigger. And then over millions of years, the wings get larger and larger until they can glide and eventually fly onto those laser pointers. Now, more recently, the ground up theory, the W, capital A, I, R, wing assisted incline running. This could be called trees up. It can be observed today with baby birds. They use their wings as they're growing to help them run up steep slopes, like tree trunks or branches. And researchers have demonstrated that their flapping allows them to run up steeper slopes. It's counterintuitive, but they don't use their wings to lift them up the branch. Instead, they seem to use their wings to generate downforce, so they get a better grip while running uphill, kind of like a spoiler on a car. And that detail makes it a little harder to translate into powered flight since it's the opposite of set of muscles that are important for flight. But an option that could benefit from some lift is running on the water, like different beings that can run on the water. Potentially flapping their wings could help dinosaurs run across the water. Now, trees down. A small dinosaur lives high up in the trees and wants to jump from tree to tree, or from tree to somebody they're, taking a closer look at. And over time, they evolve the ability to glide from tree limbs. And we do know that gliding is much easier to evolve than flying, having evolved many times in mammals alone. And instead of running to achieve the speed to generate lift over wings, or the wind beneath beneath my wings, generate the lift over my wings. Jumping out of a tree works easier. This is why many truisms for dinosaurs, birds, and flight-based mammals doesn't work. Human truisms, they don't work about, these things. Flying through the air means gravity is pulling the wings through the air, without much effort for the dinosaur. Eventually, they start flapping to get a little more thrust and control over direction. And slow improvements over time eventually result in a flying bird. There's another life lesson. Yeah, that's how it goes for Sleep Podcasts, too. Now, here's one to lay on you, though. Ground up versus tree down may be a false dichotomy. There's a big, broad world out there. So with feathers, dinosaurs could use the same structure for multiple things at the same time. So there's no reason to say the feathers couldn't help to jump, glide, and run uphill, depending on the situation. I don't know if they help when your parents went away, if your parents go away on a week's vacation and they leave the keys to, their car, particularly if it was a brand new Porsche. We still don't know what features the first birds had, or when the first birds evolved, or where the first birds evolved. So here you go. There you go, future scientists. Now, most of the feathered dinosaurs we find currently are from China in a specific forest. And birds seem to come from the dromaeosaurs. That includes the velociraptors. They don't nowadays. If we went back and if they were in the future, they would call those the Hollywood dinosaurs, but they don't. Even the other dinosaurs that were in the first few, they were in the first movie. The dinosaurs that were in previous dinosaur movies, they're famous for their ability to climb. Some proposed ancestors to modern birds. Scansauropteryx. That's a climbing wing. It's from the late Jurassic, approximately 160 million years ago. That was found in Liaoning, China. Then we got the Microraptor. That makes me think of Micro Machines. You say you could have had, if they would have listened to I Know Dino, Jurassic World's gift shops would have been filled with Microraptors. I think you have to stick a penny in the back of them when you, so they do a pop a wheelie. But they were also found in Liaoning, China, specifically the J-hole biota. Had 4 wings, possibility for the first birds. That area has a ton of other early bird contenders, like the Confucius ornis, the Rahonavus, that's from late Cretaceous, 70 million years ago. That's in Madagascar. And when you look at the DNA, one suggestion is that the common ancestor of modern birds came from South America in the late Cretaceous. That's approximately 95 million years ago. But, we need more fossils before we know which bird came first. The trickiest thing is that feathers aren't usually preserved in fossils, so we're only getting good samples from a few places. That includes some of those parts of China. Okay, now we get into the dinosaur of the day. It's time for the dinosaur of the day, Pyroraptor. And this dino is featured in Jurassic World Dominion. Also, Colin Trevorrow mentioned in an interview he likes Pyroraptors. It's also in the games Jurassic World Stick Around and Jurassic World the Game, and it has feathers. Dinosaur, Dromaeosaurid. That's what it was that lived in the late Cretaceous, in which is now Provence, France, the La Bouchard locality, and in northern Spain, Victoria Formation in the Trempe group. And it was a feathered raptor with a long, thin tail. It had large fingernails on the second toes of its feet that were 2.5 inches, 6.5 centimeters long. Estimated to be about 5 feet, 1.5 meters long, weighed 17 to 22 pounds or 8 to 10 kilos as a rough estimate. And the species type is Pyroraptor olympius, which means, the genus name means thief, the person who took the fire, kind of like Prometheus, right? And fossils, these are fossils that I found after forest fires. The species name refers to Mount Olympe, a mountain in Provence, near where the forest was found. And a single partial construction of its bones were found in 1992. And this was described in 2000 by Ronan Allian and Philippe Taquet. The holotype is on the second fingernail of the left foot. And other specimens include the fingernail on the right foot, a right forearm bone, 2 teeth, vertebrae, digits. 2 teeth were flattened and curved backwards and serrated. And the first dromaeosaur fossils found in France were Variraptor, previously thought to be Megalosaurus pananensis. And Alain and Taquet say that the Variraptor was a nomen dubium, based on the fossils being poorly preserved and the holotype having no distinguishing features. But in 2009, Buffet and Fomen Fen Shan Thasset found Variraptor to be valid based on different shapes of the ulnas, the lower arm bones. And they may have used those fingernails for different things, you know what I'm saying? In 2005, Philip Manning and others modeled a dromaeosaur hind limb to study how they use their fingernails. And even built a robotic limb with a hydraulic arm based on the model and built a second digit and fingernail on an articulated foot of Dionacus antiropus. And they made a fingernail with an aluminum core and a thin composite sheath of Kevlar and carbon fiber strands. And they tested that thing out, and saw what it could do. And high and low speeds. And I said, okay, well, what could this be used for? Is it like a utensil? Or is it used for offensive purposes or climbing? or like for jumping and holding, and or like not fishing for fish, but fish like it was similar to fishing, and even for embracing, similar to big cats. Other animals that lived around the same time and place used the ornithod, Robodonodon, so there's a lot of other ones that I'm not going to be able to say. But turtles, you could also see the Pyroraptor on the TV series Dinosaur Planet. And on that episode, Pyroraptor pod gets stranded on an island after a tsunami, contacts dwarf dinosaurs. Now it's time for some fun facts. It's time for some fun facts. Okay, we talked about where flight started. Let's give an example of where it is today after 100 million years of evolution. I'm just laying that on you. 100 million years of evolution. Holy cow, am I thankful for that. Lots of people know the world's smallest dinosaur is a bird called the bee hummingbird. It weighs 3 grams, is about the size of your thumb. But most people don't know that the world's largest hummingbird is a giant hummingbird from the Andes in South America. It weighs in at a colossal 18 to 24 grams, which is just under an ounce, a little less than like an ice cube. That's 10 times as much as the bee hummingbird, which is the lightest dinosaur of all time. The giant hummingbird's length and wingspan are both about 9 inches. And because of their large size, the giant hummingbird's wings beat very slow for a hummingbird. That's about approximately 15 beats per second or 900 beats per minute. And speaking of beats per minute, at its rest, its heart beats 300 beats per minute with a peak rate of 1,020 beats per minute. Now, larger hummingbirds take more calories per weight to hover than smaller hummingbirds. The giant hummingbird takes an estimated approximately 4.3 calories an hour to fly. That's approximately 4 calories per gram per day. And like most hummingbirds, it gets most of those calories from nectar. According to the National Park Service, if a person had the metabolism of a hummingbird, holy cow, it'd have to eat 285 pounds or 129 kilos of protein each day, which is about 320,000 calories per day. And like I Know Dino says, I'm pretty sure they took the approximate 4 calories per gram per day as an estimate times 180 pounds, 80,000 grams. Now, an alternative, you could also, to the protein would be 182 pounds of sugar. Now, if you use, this is fun, if you use a 1-to-4 ratio of sugar to water, common hummingbird feeders, there'll be 103 gallons of nectar a day. Now, that's about half a year's worth of food every day. And probably underestimate since it's not linear and larger hummingbirds need more calories per weight. Now, on top of that, the female hummingbirds have to find sources of calcium since nectar doesn't have any. So sometimes they would eat wood ash or specific dirt because their beaks aren't particularly well suited to catching insects, but they do have some from time to time. As a matter of fact, hummingbird wings are pretty similar to insect wings. Their arms are less flexible than other bird wings, but they have a more flexible shoulder so they can rotate their wings 180 degrees to create lift while flapping forward and backwards. Their arm and hand bones are also very short compared to the full wing. Those bones only go about 1/3 to halfway to the wingtip. Rigid feathers make up the rest. And primary flight feathers, the feathers attached to the hand bones at the tip of the wing, can make up 75% or more of the wing area. And by the way, it's a great use of feathers since feathers are much lighter than, other things. So the reverse direction is reduced. Now, the downside is hummingbirds can't fold their wings. And let's take it home with a bonus discussion of people that have achieved human power flight. Now, usually they'll use something like a bicycle to power a propeller. You see these on, black and white movies while sitting in an ultralight aircraft. Compared to the 6,000 watts of flapping force a human would need to fly, an ultralight aircraft with a propeller reduced the power requirements to 280 watts, which many people can do for a couple hours. And the current record is the MIT Daedalus 88, which traveled 115 kilometers at 72 miles from Crete to Santorini in 1988. And then a human-powered ornithopter, that's an aircraft with flapping wings, has successfully flown straight and level for the first time. It did it the first time in 2010. That was called the Snowbird. It was built by the University of Toronto Institute for Aerospace Studies. It had a wingspan of 32 meters. That's 105 feet, 8 feet less than a 737. Long, skinny wings to allow for more efficient flight, but they're less maneuverable. It weighed 43 kilograms, 95 pounds empty, made from carbon fiber, foam, and balsa wood. It got a tow to take off, but maintained flight for 19.3 seconds and 145 meters. That's 476 feet. Works out to 25.6 kilometers per hour, 15.9 miles per hour. It needed the really long wings to generate enough lift at such a low speed. Now, the thing is, it wouldn't be able to turn very well since it's so wide and only about 10 to 20 feet off the ground. And, shortly after flight, the whole thing didn't, it was low to the ground, but it came apart due to wear on its components from the flapping motion. It also took 600 to 700 watts of input, 1 horsepower. That's more than double the propeller-style ornithopter. Each flap took about 700 to 800 pounds of force, and the pilot managed only 16 flaps before getting tired. So, I'm just here, it doesn't take anywhere near that force for me to flap my gums off to dreamland, but I want to thank Garrett and Sabrina. They have such a positive impact on the podcasting community. For their listeners, I get to learn a lot from them. And for all of you, as I tuck you in, whether it's eagle's wings or the wind beneath your wings, or, we're all evolving. I mean, that's the honest truth. And, we get to participate in it a little bit, but you do need your rest for that. But there's plenty of other episodes of Sleep With Me ready to go. And if you're still listening during the day, check out I Know Dino. I Know Dino. Good night, everybody. All right, I want to thank everybody that became a patron recently. I want to thank Chad, Robert, and Steve. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Bastian, Ann, and Jeff. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Veronica, Kelly, and Krista. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Jack, Samantha, and Aaron. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Sean, Bill, and Gretchen. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Millicent, Katie, and Shannon. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Aber, Javier, and Greg. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Melanie, Jeannie, and Tegan. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Henry, Carolyn, and Katie. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Amanda, Bellamy, and Janine. Thank you, thanks, and good night. And Axel, Lise, and Jean. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Thanks and good night, everybody, for supporting the show directly or supporting our sponsors. That's how we keep the show going. And a free way to help the show is just to spread the word about podcasts or podcasting in general. And just let somebody know about it. That's a great way to help the show as well. And, that's it. I think there may be a Tuck You In sponsor after this, or Scoot's asking for support. That's how we've got those archives almost up to 600, which is our goal. Thanks to all the support. So thanks, and good night, everybody.